Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to make a really fun look at me statement earring. So I love this, and I am definitely going to borrow this from the Beadaholique studios. This is a gemstone skull bead with a tassel on a Nunn design open frame circle pendant hanging from some chain and a really pretty Nunn design earring hook. So I started out with the thought of doing this skull bead, and I was like, how can I make this really fun, really big, and definitely impressive and a showstopper? So I hope that you agree that that's what I've done, and I'm going to show you how long this actually measures. So this is almost a 4-inch earring from the top of the earring hook where it's going to sit in your ear to the base of the tassel. So it's a good size earring, but it's really not all that heavy. It's not super duper light, but it's definitely wearable in my opinion, and it's not too heavy. So what you're going to need to make this is some wire. I'm using 24 gauge artistic wire in antique brass. You're going to need your Nunn design components. We've got that earring hook and the open frame circle. We've got some chain right here, and you'll see the actual product listing links in the description of this video. A really bright, wonderful orange tassel that already has a gold jump ring attached to it. It comes that way. You're going to need the gemstone skull bead, and for these little guys to add just a little bit of sparkle, I have some micro spacers. So these are really pretty and faceted and sparkly. In terms of your tools, you're going to need a pair of wire looping pliers. You can use a round nose as well. I just prefer the wire looping myself. A chain nose, a second chain nose plier, and some type of cutter. I like a nice flush cutter that comes to a point. So up to you, but you just need a cutter for that. So let's go ahead and begin. There's a couple different parts to this project. We're gonna start with the wire wrapping. So I'm gonna cut off about, 18 inches or so. You can just eyeball it. And we're gonna begin by wire wrapping our pendant. So I like to do this first because I don't have anything obstructing my hand. It makes the wire wrapping go a little bit easier, and it also makes it so that it just doesn't get caught on anything. So you see, I'm just going to start by loosely just putting the wire through the hole, the center of the open frame pendant, and I am going to be gripping it on this end. So I'm holding on to it. I have a tail of about 1.5 inches, and I'm just going to wrap it. So I've made one nice wrap, and on this first wrap, I'm just gonna go and tighten up my wrap ever so slightly so it's a little bit neater, and this is what I'm gonna hold on to. And now I'm gonna do about 7 or 8 wraps. And move my tools out of the way. So you can do as many or as few wrappings as you like. My tip is to, once you've made the first earring, to look at your wraps and just kind of make sure that you have about the same number, just so that it looks consistent when you're wearing these. But you can have 12, you can have 15, you can have 5, really whatever you like. So I've got the wraps right there, and I haven't cut off my tail yet. I'm gonna add my first micro spacer, and I like that I'm doing a little mixed metal look. I think that's fun. So I just put the micro spacer right onto the tail of the wire, and I'm going to slide it down. Now with my hand, I'm going to rest it up against the edge of the open frame circle and kind of grip it with my fingernail and wrap that wire up and over because I want it to sit on the outer edge. Now to keep it there, I'm going to do one more wrap around, just like so. Now I'm going to add a second one, and I'm going to do the same process. So I'm holding it in place so it stays where I want it to stay on the wire frame. And I'm going to do another wrap around. And I'm going to want a total of 8 of these wrapped. Okay, I've got all 8 wrapped. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have a center point, because if you look at this earring design, we're hanging this guy here from the center between wire wrapped bead number 4 and number 5. So I want to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is going to be my center, and I want to look and I want to be like, is that fairly center? And if it's not, you can try, it doesn't always work, to scooch your beads a little bit along the frame to make that a little bit more of a center point. And that does look a little bit better to me. There we go. And now count your wraps that you had on this side. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 2 already. Now I'm just going to do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and then let's tuck this guy. This is going to be the back of our earring. It's going to be back here. And you know what? Even though I think I counted right, I want to add an extra wrap just to make it go up a little bit higher. So we're looking at something that's even. And you can go ahead and scoot your coils together with your fingers. Wire can be anything you want it to be. You really do have a lot of flexibility with it. Don't be afraid to push on it, to pull on it. Make it do what you want it to do, especially when you're working with something like a 24 gauge wire because it's still quite pliable. So we got both our tails in the back, and at this point we're just going to snip them off. And then what you're going to want to do is tuck in those tails, make sure they're pressed down against the frame so they're not pokey. All right, so we've got our wire wrapped piece, and now we are ready to go ahead and add our skull and our tassel. And you might have noticed, besides the jump ring that I have right here, I don't have any other jump rings I used in this project. That's because I'm going to create the connection with wrapped wire loops. So I'm going to connect all of these together with wrapped wire loops, and actually from the same piece of wire. So I'm going to grab about 12 inches or so here. Okay, let's see how close I was on that. Might have been a little bit more. Yeah, so this was about 14 inches. And I'm going to start down at one end, and I'm going to use my wire looping pliers. So about an inch from the end, I'm going to make a little loop, just like so. I'm going to slip my tassel onto that little loop, like that, and grab it with my pliers. And then I've got this, and nice and straight. And I'm going to do a couple wraps. And then trim my excess tail. Now if you look at the size of the hole in this bead, it's actually quite nice and big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed my wire through it. And when we come up towards it, I'm hoping that my wraps will just slip inside that hole. And they do. So it's really just the loop that's sticking out. I'm going to pull it. So now we've got that tassel. You can change the direction of that loop if you want, just by repositioning it. So I like the tassel jump ring to face forward. So now what we're going to do is we are going to connect this guy to our wire wrapped open frame pendant. And we're going to do that by creating another wrapped wire loop, but this one we want to be quite large. So we're going to go ahead and position our wire at the very back of this tapered nose. You see you can make small little loops towards the tip, and at the back you can make nice big ones. So really we're going to position this towards the back, and I'm really just practically sitting on top of the head of this skull bead. And wrap it around and around, and we're going to see what we have. So we got a nice big loop. And this is a wee bit tricky, not too tricky, but we just want to go ahead and position this. So we're going to thread it through the middle. Actually, I want it to be the other way. I guess I could just go this way. Here we go. Thread it through the middle and loop it around. And now we're gonna see how we've got that wire right in here. So that is where it's going to connect, and we're hanging it between that 4th and 5th bead. And now we're just gonna pull that wire so we've got the loop. And again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in there with our chain nose pliers. and we're gonna grab that loop, and I'm actually grabbing both wires. So right where above where they crisscross. And now I'm just going to wrap. And I'm gonna keep wrapping, because I want this to be a good amount of wire over here. So once I've got a couple wraps done, you can see what we've got. So we see how that's attached there. And I like to hold on to it because it just gives me something nice to securely hold on to it. And I'm just going around and around and around. You can go back up. You can make it a messy loop. You can make it a really neat and tidy loop. I'm just bulking it up a little. You see I'm just going around that head. You see what I did on the first one. So you can kind of look at that and gauge. And then when you get to the amount of wraps that you like, pull your wire towards the back and trim it. And tuck in your tail again. So you're tucking in your tail for security purposes, but you're also tucking it in just so it doesn't snag on your fingers or snag on anything. All right, so there is our head, our wire wrapped skull head with our tassel below it on our pendant. And now we need to go ahead and suspend it from these chains. Now I have this little piece of chain right here. This is a great application if you have scrap chain. It's really nice to be able to use little pieces. So I know from my first earring that I used 2 pieces that were 6 links long each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm gonna cut the 7th one. You could open it the same way you would open a jump ring. These are open chain links, meaning they are not soldered together. They have a little opening, which we're gonna take advantage of in just a second. But I just cut it for time purposes here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and cut. Okay, and then we want one more. And on this one, I know I'm gonna open it up anyways. So I'm gonna open this one to remove it. So you see there's that little slit. It looks just like a jump ring. And now we're gonna open it like a jump ring. And remove it, and we're going to use that in just a moment. First though, we're going to open the end chain link on one of our cut segments. And we are going to thread it through the little hole at the top here, which is just so convenient that it is right there for us. And close it. Do the same thing on the other side. Open it. And then close it. Okay, just one more step. So we've got those guys. Now we want to take our open one. Okay, and we want this to hang right. So we're gonna grab onto them and we're gonna look at it and we're like, does that hang forward? And it actually does, which is nice. And then we're just gonna slip on our earring hook. Close it on up, make sure it's nice and tight, and we have our matched pair for our really fun wire wrapped skull statement earrings. So these would be great to wear out for a party or just a fun night or an event or a holiday, whatever you want to do with them. So you can find all the supplies for this project, as well as many other fun projects and videos at Beadaholique.com.